Welcome to the Hodcast, conversations worth having. I do want to let you know that in this podcast, this episode certainly, there are some adult themes and strong language within. So some viewers may find this upsetting or inappropriate. Listener discretion is advised. So this episode, probably don't listen to it with your kids in the back. But yeah, get stuck in and enjoy. Terry, take me back to a time in your life before the business, before the success, before you were on site loading out 4,000 bricks a day. What was life like for you back then, before all that stuff, before even before you got your first job?
For me, I don't know, it was a good childhood, quite, you know what I mean, just average kind of council turnout, which was second nature to me, do you know what I mean? And just always had the drive to earn a pound note, I think. To be fair, I mean, looking back at it, it's like we had me and my friends, Chris, we had like a car washing round, just be walking around on the weekends, knocking on doors, and then we'd have regulars, so we'd do it every other weekend and set up a little bank account when it was about 11 or 12 to working on the market kind of thing. I'd be up at 5 in the morning, get down there on a Wednesday before school, set up the jeans and jumper store as it was, go to school, come back and help them put it away, and then work down there all day Saturday. To a point where I was clocked, everybody would go for sandwiches about 10 o'clock, so I thought I'd try and do a little sandwich round myself, do you know what I mean? So I went round, basically getting the orders in, and just would go home and make them, stopped working on the market and done that for a while. But like when I was speaking to you before, I think they just felt sorry for me, do you know what I mean? So I looked like the fucking white Milky Bar kid as such. And I think looking back, the sandwiches must have been pretty horrendous, because it'd just been 2 bits of council white thingy with a little bit of ham and maybe a bit of mustard on it. So I think it was a sympathy vote. But yeah, I mean, just had a drive about me, do you know what I mean? School-wise, kind of had it drummed in my head from the old man in an alternative kind of way to do well at school. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a shit life as such. So I did, you know what I mean? I kind of smashed it at school, but I had like 2 groups of friends, you know what I mean? Ones that I was up to no good with, and then the ones that I'd like concentrate and do as well as I could, you know what I mean? Which I did do. And off the back of that, I'll be boxing, fell into boxing because I'm like my passion as a kid. As my mum used to say, she would be like, most kids wanted to be a footballer, and you want to run away to China and study Chinese Kung Fu, do you know what I mean? Which I fucking did. And that was me, but didn't kind of fall into it because there was nowhere around to learn it. Went to Taekwondo once, and I remember asking the teacher why my hands wouldn't go like straight down. And he said, you just need to whack more people. And I just thought, what an absolute tool. And I think I found my little Taekwondo licence, and I was like 11 years old. I got like a full mullet, long hair, freckles, you know what I mean? Looked like a white. But thinking at that age, I thought, what an idiot, do you know what I mean, to say that to someone. So there's a local boxing gym down Essex Road. A mate at the bottom of the road, John. So we used to just start boxing. I boxed for 4 nights a week, religiously, all the way through my school, do you know what I mean? So I was always pushing myself. Do you know what I mean? For whatever reason, kind of thing.
That's really interesting. That's a lot in there.
Yeah,
a lot in that. So when you were growing up, you seemed quite driven.
Yeah.
Have you got a memory that you can give me from sort of maybe just before that maybe might explain why you've become so driven, or how that's manifested you becoming a driven person? Because to have a business essentially at the age of 12 or 13 has to come from somewhere.
I know.
Have you got anything that you can share with me about maybe where that's come from?
I look back and money-wise, I don't really know, because I mean, even now it sounds it's not about money, materialistic things, and I don't, you know what I mean? Even though I'm my own business, and obviously you earn a living as such, and to live a good life. But back then, as an opportunist, I was a little scallywag kind of thing, really, to be fair, do you know what I mean? I don't know, robbing out of shops at a young kind of age and that type of stuff, and I had, like I said, the bad group of friends and the good, but there was just something that, I don't know, just see an idea. I like to say it's a Richard Branson kind of in the council state kind of turnout. Maybe to get noticed, I think it was a big thing. Dad left home, was about 10, 11, but that was all cool. But I think I was always trying to do good, you know what I mean? Trying to be to impress to get noticed, maybe. I mean, from stuff down the line I've looked back at, I think that's where my drive essentially has come from, but then obviously it's got to be in you as well, I think, as a certain person. So no particular memories, but maybe just a bit of reflection, I suppose, on that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and has that always been with you, that sense of, and is it still with you now, that sense of feeling like you want to be noticed, or it's like almost sort of a popularity type thing?
I think it's not so much the popular side, it is proving to myself that I've done well. Do you know what I mean? I think in the adversity of what I've been through in my life, obviously addiction, unfortunately, has been a massive part of it, and feeling like a failure. And if you used to die, I remember at 18, also I was anti-drugs, super fit. My friends were taking trips and running down the train tracks and all that type of crazy shit, and I just didn't entertain it. But when I, at the age of 18, started partying and raves and that year I was just flat out off my head really every single weekend. And I remember thinking at that time, if I was to die now, am I going to be remembered as a drug addict or something, which is nuts, do you know what I mean? But so for me, it was always trying to, I don't prove to myself, live to my full potential as such. I mean, I was quite intelligent, well, just lucky, I think. I remember having a little Commodore 16+4 as a kid. I was 13 years old, or maybe younger than that, and I was reading through the programming book and I was writing a little computer game for my brother, like you walk in a room and there's a spider and what do you do? And so I knew I'd something about me and a drive, and I think as I got to 18, it all went a bit tits up. I was kind of, so there is an element of that all the way through my life. Do you know what I mean? From the fitness, from bodybuilding, from boxing to right through to the business, just to life, I suppose, which can be perceived, I suppose, as wanting to be popular, but wanted, yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, I can see. I can see how that is difficult in many ways. You know, you haven't sort of gone into your dad and how that all went out, and that's fine. But the idea that your dad leaving around that time, and then you going out and working on the market and essentially becoming an entrepreneur at the age of 11.
I know, which is nuts, isn't it?
Which I
don't even think of that even because I was driving down and just thinking about my life, like what am I going to say, kind of thing, as you do. And yeah, it's looking back at it, that was the kind of, I should have been a millionaire time I was 25. That's how I look at it, do you know what I mean? But it all went tits up in the middle.
Yeah.
But it's come out good, thankfully, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big reasons that I've been looking forward to this conversation for such a long time, because you have turned it around and you are successful. But how did we go from addiction and as you put it, being a scallywag to becoming a hod carrier?
Yeah. It was, I mean, I had enough of my life even from that. I always think it was too late, so I thought I'd messed up my boxing career. Do you know what I mean? I was taking pills and going to raves and all that kind of thing. And whatever I'd done, I'd done it my all, do you know what I mean? So on that effect, it was no good. And I was just down the job centre, and I see used to go down there before the old computer screens, and obviously the job was written on a card, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? And it was navigation officer in the Merchant Navy. And I thought it said £400 a week, but it was £400 a month. And I thought, fuck it, I'm going to go for that £400 a week back in them days, or even now, so I was sensible. So, yeah, so I got an interview, went down to Southampton, had an interview with the fella, and I told him what I thought at the time was my old life. But looking back, it was only a year ago. But how committed I was at boxing and focused I was on my exams and such. And he goes, you're a perfect candidate, but you don't know nothing about the Merchant Navy. He said, look, it's a captive environment. What is the Merchant Navy? And I didn't really have a bloody clue, to be fair. What type of ships is it? Cargo, oil tankers. So he said, go away, research the Merchant Navy, have a think about actually being on a ship in the middle of the sea, because it's just like an open prison as such. Captive environment, can you handle it? And the scallywag part of me, I had somebody's ID, so I opened a bank library account in somebody else's name, for whatever silly reason. I got the books, about 6 or 7 books, and just researched the life out of it, basically. Went back for my second interview and smashed it, and got the train back from Southampton. Got a phone call saying you're ready to go. just wait for the phone call. And it was about 3 months after, it was about 3 days after Christmas. And I was with some pals, drinking, doing what you're doing kind of stuff. And they said, look, can you join the ship in Hong Kong? You've got 2 days. Get yourself to the airport and we'll pick you up from Hong Kong. And my mates were like, you ain't going to fucking do it. Tell one of my pals, like, we'll do it. So I was kind of sobered up, got myself, my 2 pals, Kevin, Dave, dropped me at the airport. Never been on a plane, never been on a ship, didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And flew out to Hong Kong to join the Merchant Navy. I remember getting off, and there's 2 mates like with Mr. Farnham, and just followed them on to the Merchant Navy. I was studying H&D in nautical science, so I do 6 months at Warsash College, and then 6 months at sea. So in the first 6 months was in Hong Kong, joined the ship, went from there down to Japan, into Kobe, from there across to Los Angeles, down through the Panama Canal, up to New York, and then back across to the UK, which was a massive thing, you know what I mean? I mean, looking at it now, I was 18 years old. They wasn't ready for the cadets. There was only me and one other fella from the Orkney Islands, and he was double shy. There was only 6 or 7 people on the ship that spoke English. Most of the crew were Filipino, so I was in an alien environment, couldn't find home, didn't know what the fuck was going on, really, to be fair. But I think that shaped me, because I learned how to deal with people, different types of people. Do you know what I mean? From the officers, and it was all inspiring as well. Once I was settled in a little bit, you'd be at the bar, small little bar, and the captains would be telling their stories about pulling up, and I mean the cargo ships back and then using port for 2 weeks. I mean, we was in port for about fucking 6 hours sometimes. But you listen to the stories and they talk about the world as your back garden, and I thought that I want a bit of that. Do you know what I mean? So yes, from all the different experiences, me looking back, went back to sea for the second time, and we was taking second-hand cars from Europe down to West Africa, and cocoa and other stuff back up to Europe. But it's just the different types of people I'll be working on. I was on a container ship and row underneath, which would be JCBs, anything that can roll on basically, and containers, which everybody knows. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, we'd be ported in Abidjan in West Africa, and I'll be dealing with the locals, and most of them got their limbs cut off or the faces cut because there was rebels fighting the thingies, or we would go down as far as Lagos, but we couldn't get off there. So I'd learned to speak to the locals, and I'd created a couple of friends, and he'd stick me on the back of his moped, and we'd drive to the market, get loads of counterfeit Lagos, come back, put it in the thingies, to speaking to people like the pilots in Japan that were ruthless. Do you know what I mean? Everything was militant to the button. So I think that skill that I learned there, I've incorporated using all the way through my life to my business to now, kind of thing.
And how, again, such a packed, like, because that's not even that long, is it? Yeah,
no,
two outings
20.
on that is not that long. No. When you take me back to when you first walked on, because as you say, you learned about the Merchant Navy from 6 or 7 books over a space of a few months. Yeah. So when you first walked onto a Merchant Navy ship, what were you feeling?
I was thinking, oh shit. Basically, the things across all, they're massive. You know what I mean? I didn't know the front of the ship, the back, the stern, what was port, what was starboard. And like I said, they wasn't actually ready for the cadets. So I would be going down to lunch, dressed up in the officer stuff, and it was a casual day. Do you know what I mean? Or so I felt fucking lonely, felt lost, lonely. Do you know what I mean? I was writing my diary. I've been training weightlifting for 3 or 4 years by then. It's going down to the weather deck, going down to the holding decks. And you've got Filipinos, which are lovely people, by the way, do you know what I mean? But at the time, I was very paranoid, because I was speaking different languages. I was on the opposite end of the world. I didn't know how to phone home. So I kind of, it's sink or swim kind of thing, really. And I think that's been how I've done life all the way through.
Literally sink or swim.
Excuse the pun, you know what I mean? But yeah, from that, I mean, the Filipinos were lovely people, and I found my little diary, and I was speaking to the mirror because I couldn't speak to nobody else. But then I still had my little weight training, like Monday, chest and back, Tuesdays, biceps, do you know what I mean? And we got to Los Angeles, and the Filipinos welded me a bench together, and the first thing I brought was a set of weights, and that was how dedicated I even was back then, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I learned to love it. But then I was even thinking, right, so, I mean, most of the captains were on their fourth marriage, they're all smoking 60 cigarettes, chewing like 3 packets of cigarettes. And I thought, how am I going to have a family kind of thing and make, I mean, it's hard enough to have a wife and live together, let alone be away for 6 months. And that was my fault. Things were a bit tricky at home as well, and I just decided that it wasn't for me. And one of the times I've come back, I ended up getting into a fight and going to prison for a couple of years. So that kind of stopped that one, but I was on the way out of it anyway. Do you know what I mean?
So the fight, was that impromptu? Was that,
well?
How did talk me through it if you don't mind?
I mean, because I used to box, and I used to look like the Monkey Bar kid, and I was tiny and skinny kind of thing. People would want to fight me all the time because you box, I'll fight you outside the ring and that type of stuff. So I was used to fighting. Do you know what I mean? On this occasion, it wasn't that, and it was wrong. There was a group of blokes there, and befriended it one, and I thought it was on top. So the other one broke his jaw. Looking back, I shouldn't have done it. Do you know what I mean? And then I didn't hear nothing for about six months, and I was just about 3 to 6 months coming out the door. Got arrested for GBH, section 21 or section 18, and that was it. One punch. 2 years, managed to get the 2 years down to a year, and straight into Winchester, and then straight into Highdown, which was a Cat A prison. Which is, people go to prison and they give it the large one and all that, but it's you still shit, do you know, when you first go in there. It wasn't for me. Most of the people in there used to coming in and out, and I just thought, this ain't a bit of me. And I remember sitting there on the date that I was supposed to be a qualified third officer in the Merchant Navy, and I was sitting in fucking prison, and I thought that was a definite wrong move there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, your body language changed then when you talked about your time in prison. Was it obviously it was difficult, but talk me through how you sort of dealt with that.
Well, for me, was different because when you first go in prison, you think, I don't know, it's just chaotic. Everybody's out the windows. They're white brother people. When you're going in the holding cell, there's like, it'll be 15 of you. Do you know what I mean? And most people know, hey, I see you doing the 4 sets, bruv, and such and such. To me, it was fucking alien. Do you know what I mean? And I can have a row and then that type of stuff, but my head would fall off of my arse. I would drop out of it, kind of thing. Is how I look at it. That's the bare bones of it. Do you know what I mean? But while I was in there, Winchester was a local prison to Basingstoke, so I knew a couple of bods, but you never get settled. Do you know what I mean? So I just kind of finding your feet, and then got shipped out to Highdown. I was doing a cleaning job, but then managed to get a gym course thing. So I was in the gym 5 days a week, and then you could have a weekend gym. And I had a little crew of people there, and that was all right. And just a couple of situations, do you know what I mean, that were shit. You know what I mean? So when you're doing single bang up, you're lying with your head, and there's like a Mexican dude and 2 other fellas, and in Highdown it's all Cat A, so you can't really, you open doors, walk forward, open other doors. Just a couple of situations where you had to kind of fucking dig deep, and I went back to myself, well, if he puts it on me, I'm going to have to bang the But if I do that, then I'm going to probably get another 2 years on my sentence, and I'm going to lose the gym course. So for me, it wasn't the best experience. You know what I mean? When you go in there, you kind of settle, and I can see how people settle, and it becomes their friends. Prison, it becomes their life. Do you know what I mean? But I just knew that I didn't want that. So I thought to myself, when I come out, someone puts it on me again, I can read it. So I'd walk away unless it's on, and then I'd whack them. Do you know what I mean? But since then, I've not had to whack too many people, thankfully.
Well, yeah, thankfully. That's obviously a really difficult thing to go through, and you were talking about the Merchant Navy being a bit like an open prison, and obviously a Cat A prison is very different from an open prison, if you will. Yeah. I don't want to dwell on it too much.
Yeah.
You're obviously a very driven person, and to go into prison and then not go into prison again is actually quite a big, especially a Cat A prison. A lot of people in a Category A prison are in and out, as you see. Yeah. How do you think your mindset is different to those people, if you will? I'm not talking one particular person, but how do you think your mindset differs from those that go in and out?
I think it's a tricky and it's a difficult thing to say, because a couple of my pals, I've got my best pals, unfortunately, is in out of prison because of lifestyle and lifestyle events, and the person that he had to become to deal with that situation. It was sink or swim. It was either get battered by the dad to shit, or you go out and fight the fucker. Do you know what I mean? So my best pal become that person, and with that it becomes unmanageability, and then you get used to that lifestyle. Not that he wants that. It's other people I can't speak for. I think it becomes a norm for some people. Do you know what I mean? It becomes like that's their group of friends, and they know how to do prison. Do you know what I mean? And it's more difficult on the outside as such. For me, I didn't like it. I didn't want it. I knew that I wanted to do other stuff. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I remember sitting in, I was thinking, well, I snapped mate's jaw. I shouldn't have fucking done it, but I'd rather take the snap jaw than have to do the bird. Do you know what I mean? So, and you can read it. Well, you can read if it's on. Do you know what I mean? So I'd either walk away or talk my way out of it. So that's just a decision I made to do that. And that's where I ended up jumping on the yacht, funnily enough.
Yeah. Just a quick one. Give me a second to tell you about the proud sponsor of the Hodcast, Site Ready Solutions. In construction, a world where time is tight and quality matters, there's no room for passengers. Site Ready Solutions are changing the game. They're not just getting people into the industry, they're getting them ready to deliver from day one. It all starts in the community, attracting local people who might never have thought of themselves being on a construction site. Then they're given real training, hands-on, hard graft, and to high standards. They're placed where they're needed the most, with the right mindset, skills, and the ability to be productive from day one. Then, importantly, they're retained through ongoing support and mentoring through progression. Because Site Ready Solutions don't just build workers, they build teams, they build trust, and they build futures. From street to site, they're helping everyday people become site-ready professionals, productive, prepared, and proud from the very first day they step on the job. Site Ready Solutions, local people, real skills, day one impact. Visit sitereadysolutions.co.uk and see how they're rebuilding the future of the construction industry, one person at a time. Thanks for listening. That's where I want to get to.
Yeah,
so you came out of prison, and there aren't that many avenues to go down.
Yeah.
In the early days of coming out of prison, are there?
Yeah,
Like you're not going to walk out into an incredibly high paid job because it just doesn't happen that way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And no matter how hard you want to graft, because as we've you've been grafting since you were 11 years old and probably before that. So how did you get into hod carrying? How did that start, and why did it continue for you?
I think it started just to my mate Bill. He was carrying the yard in Basingstoke, and it still is now. There's always been loads of sites and loads of work. And hod carrying at the beginning, which still is, it was for a low-skilled kind of job that you can kind of walk into. It was good money, do you know what I mean? And that was the trap with it, really. For me, I love grafting, do you know what I mean? I'd like the hard work kind of thing. And was just good at it. And it was more banter on the site back then. He was wearing trainers, do you know what I mean? A pair of shorts, cut off Levi's or something. Mincy bastard, do you know what I mean? But and it was more of a laugh. And it was a trap of the money. He was on, I don't know, 80 quid a day back in the day or something, do you know what I mean? And because I was good at it, I stayed with it as such, and it was hard to stop that and go and do something else because you couldn't earn that kind of money. You'd have to take a big back step. So just stayed with it, really, do you know what I mean? And just, I suppose everything that I do, I give 100% unknowingly, I think. So I only got Muhammad Ali, didn't I? And he says, well, look, whatever you do, just be the best you can at it. And he's like, if you're going to be a fucking binman, be the best binman you can be. And that wasn't my mentality, but I think that has been what I've done. So I pride myself on being able to knock them 4,000 bricks out a day, and that's what I was doing. Or if there was, do you know what I mean? How many blocks is 722?
That's a lot of bricks.
It's 8 packs, and you just do it at 12 at a time. But it's, I don't know. I like being a fucking horse in a field and ploughing it. Yeah. Because that's what it felt, and having the crack. And it's just been like what you were saying earlier, it's been the backbone of my career all the way through the progressions of moving back and falling back and having to be humble to losing my life nearly a couple of times of addiction and hod carrying has been the backbone of my career as such. Do you know what I mean? To where I am now. So it's like it's fitting that this is called Hodcast because that's me.
Yeah.
Do you know
Well,
what I mean?
I want to before we move on, because
Yeah.
there's so much more that you're doing now and have done since then. I just
Yeah.
want to sort of put a pin in
Yeah.
the addiction and the nearly losing your life stuff, because
Right, okay.
that's like for
Massive.
most people, like brushing over that would be a disservice
Yeah, no,
to the
yeah,
Hodcast, if you will. So
yeah.
can you talk to me a little bit about that and maybe share some of that
Yeah, of
if
course.
you wouldn't mind?
Yeah, and I feel privileged and honoured that I can, and I'm still alive here to do so. Do you know what I mean? And for all the people that are still suffering now, because for me, as much as all the other bits I've done, this has probably been it is the biggest thing for me. Do you know what I mean? For me to still be alive and say to be able to do and say what I'm doing. From the start, I suppose it was the raving. Do you know what I mean? The pills and the whiz, and it wasn't really a problem as such. It was recreational use, and even at that point, I didn't want it. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I done Merchant Navy and the other bits I just spoke about. And then it just crept back in. Do you know what I mean? Just the using casually, or the weekend benders, as I put it, was just normal protocol on a council estate with me and my pals. Do you know what I mean? As such as it is now. And it just progressed, really, do you know what I mean, to a stage of, I don't know, probably about 25, 26, being in Bournemouth and realising, shit, I think, well, I haven't done it. Well, I'd done it Tuesday, I'd done it Wednesday, well, I didn't do it Thursday, which was cocaine, do you know what I mean? And I was thinking, so that's where I was aware of maybe a habit forming, do you know what I mean? And it being shit and it being absolutely paranoid out your head, do you know what I mean? And the enjoyment would have gone. But I left Bournemouth when I was about 30, come back to Basingstoke, and yeah, just jumped back on the odd, funny enough. Carried on doing it, and addiction was getting worse, and the weekends were turning into a week. Do you know what I mean? At some points, to the legal, I managed to get a curb on the cocaine a little bit, and then it was illegal high. So old MCAT postman Pat was delivering it to your door, and I was like, "Oh, this is bullshit." Do you know what I mean? And that was me. Do you know what I mean? It took me. Ended up in some real dark places, do you know what I mean? I'd look up to the sky and that was where the floor was, do you know what I mean? To where I found myself. And if someone come up to me at 18 and said, "Tell you're going to have a problem with drugs and addiction," I would probably whack them. Or told them you've got more chance of winning a lottery ticket. But there I was from 3 or 4 near-death experiences, probably more than that on my own, but not knowing about it, to hospitalisations, to real hellish situations, do you know what I mean? Like, and for me, when people say, "Well, you ain't got no willpower," I'm like, "Fuck off." Do you know what I mean? I've got more willpower than most people put together, really. Not blowing my own, but it's not about that. And my recovery process over the period of 20 years, I suppose, off and on, it is having to fucking ask for help and admit to yourself, like, I can't do this on my own. Do you know what I mean? And I've done that. For me to do that, I remember walking into the drugs place in Basingstoke. I just nicked a bottle of vodka out of the place because I'd been up for fucking 4 days. I was anxious and wired out my head. Nicked it neat out of the bottle and just walked in there and just said, "Can someone fucking help me?" Do you know what I mean? And that was when I was probably about 32, 33. Just got my first estimating job, funny enough, on what I'm doing now. I was doing a HND in the built environment in construction, but just couldn't curb it. And that was, what, 10, 15 years ago? Do you know what I mean? And from the next 5 years, got fucking bad. Do you know what I mean? I lost my job, unfortunately, for Champions Brickwork, which was my first opportunity to do estimating. And then that's where I progressed to where I am now. And he done everything he could for me, so then I had to swallow my shit, basically, and jump back on the yard, which was a pride thing. But you just be humble and do it. And yeah, from then it got really bad to me. I had my sister come up to me, do you know what I mean? My twin sister, and go, "Let's tell Mum's worried, we're worried, we ain't got enough money for your funeral." And I'm like, "Oh, fuck me," do you know what I mean? There's some heavy real, and just couldn't stop, man. Just couldn't fucking stop doing what I'm doing. And for people to understand why you do it when you can't understand why you're doing it, they've got fucking no chance. And it's horrendous, you know what I mean? And for anybody suffering at the moment, my heart goes out to you, you know? And there ain't a one-stop-fits-all fucking answer for me, I've done lots of stuff, do you know what I mean? For me, I have a sponsor at the moment. I work the 12 steps, 12 spiritual steps, which helps massively. It's a different way of living your life, which I like. I've had to go into Lindale recovery in the community for 3 months, which is a rehab in the community kind of thing. So I wasn't dependent, but I just couldn't shake this fucking self-destroying, soul-destroying habit. So, and slowly, and there's been no miracle moment, there's been no aha moment, I'm fucking cured, you know what I mean? It's just never, ever fucking giving up. And that has been me relentlessly, when you've got just a fucking glimmer of self-belief in yourself, do you know what I mean? I go back to the meetings of relapse again, what the fuck? But you have to believe in yourself and hope, just that little bit of hope, man. And that's what I've done. And throughout that, I've managed to continue my estimating career, jump up the career ladder, do you know what I mean? All the way through I was in Bournemouth, went back to Bournemouth, obviously like the beach and the sun. And I got family down there, to be fair, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, and dealt with it and managed it somehow. Fuck knows how, but I have done a job opportunity come up for McCarthy and Stone, which is main contracting, which I have no fucking clue about. I know the brickwork package inside out. That's what I do, kind of thing. So I just say yes, I can do the job, and then learn how to do it. And then that's what I've done all the way through. It's like the Richard Branch in me. I didn't know what all these things were, but that's what he said. He said, tell them you can do the job, then fucking learn the job. And that's what I've kind of done. Do you know what I mean? It's like one of them, was it the swan, that it looks all pretty above and the legs are going like fuck. I don't know about the swan, it'd be more like a fucking ugly duck, do you know what I mean? And the legs are going all over the place. But that's how I've progressed forward, do you know what I mean? I'm on the opposite side of the fence doing main contracting, and then when the relationship split up in Bournemouth, which is a heavy one kind of thing, a job opportunity come up in Shrewsbury as the lead estimator for a modular company. And I never even fucking heard of Shrewsbury, to be honest, but I just packed my car up nearly 9 years ago now, and just drove up here. Ben, who's the managing director, was a lovely guy. I was renting the rooms, so it's kind of just restructured my life and just built a new life up here. Do you know what I mean? And again, didn't know nothing about modular build, but fucking done it. Learned it to a point where they secured a big project. They had a site manager on site, and he was wary that he couldn't really do the job, so he's asked me to just go down and overlook it, and I ended up running the whole fucking thing. And I'd never been a site agent, didn't know, do you know what I mean? But I could just, because of my life, I could deal with chaos and madness, and as much as addiction or crazy life or whatever, you get traits that work well in life as well. So I would go in, it was a 14-week program, which was ridiculous. I mean, modular build lands, and instead of traditional, you'd have the brickwork and the trades come in one by one, the building lands, and it's every single trade you're on all at once. And I'd done it, I delivered the whole program, do you know what I mean? With 3 days before program to budget, and it's just one of them other moments where sink or swim. And funny enough, the old Hodcast is, there was 2 weeks left, and every day I had to one like clockwork, otherwise you just lose the program, and you do get countercharged, fucking, I don't know, whatever it was at the time, 50 grand a week or such. So the bricklayers, okay, I wouldn't come in on a Saturday, and they needed to get the lift done. So I got the order out as a site agent, and then just bumped the whole lift out on a Saturday on my own, just bumped the whole fucking thing out, so they could come in on Monday and crack on, do you know what I mean? So there was another little moment where the old famous Hod come into it, do you know what I mean?
That's it. And did they know you'd done that?
Yeah, well, I told them. Not that I wanted to be noticed.
£170 thanks.
You know what I mean? That's £170 off your wages, boys.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you're quite clearly successful. You are quite clearly successful at whatever you do, whether that is selling crappy sandwiches with a bit of ham and a bit of mustard in it, up to becoming a site agent. You're now the managing director of Connected Precision Construction.
That's right, yes,
Group Limited.
Yep. Bit of a mouthful.
130 clients, 10 senior estimators handling tenders worth millions.
Yep.
When you hear that, do you actually feel successful, or do you still feel like that guy on site with the Hod?
It's just a weird one, because when you say figures like that, you get like a thing like imposter syndrome sometimes. It doesn't feel like it's you kind of thing, but it's also nice to hear and kind of recognise what I have managed to achieve, do you know what I mean, really, for me, from being the guy carrying the bricks to the guy, for most of the companies I was doing estimating for, I've brought projects back to them, do you know what I mean? And pretty much secured them for them, do you know what I mean? Where I was the guy that was carrying the bricks and the mortar for one of the bricklayers. So I feel like I've achieved, and I'm proud in what I've done, and it's an ongoing process kind of thing. But it is, when I look back at it, it just does sound like somebody else sometimes, and it does sound a bit nuts, doesn't it? From how and mustard sarnies.
Well, if you had to pick, and I think I know where this is going, but if you had to pick, what would be your greatest success?
My greatest success. There's been loads of little moments, well, big moments, just from, I don't know, passing out, getting my HND in the built environment, you know what I mean, having the hat and throwing it up in the air was a moment of actually feeling like I've achieved or got where I should have been, kind of thing. To doing what I'm doing now, really, do you know what I mean? Because I felt like I was wasting myself. As much as I love the then it's been the backbone of what I do. Do you know what I mean? I felt like if I stay on it, which is fucking fine, do you know what I mean? And it serves its purpose and it's good money, and I don't begrudge anybody, but I felt like I'd be cheating myself if I stay in this position, because thankfully God or divine matrix or whatever you want to call it has granted me some brain cells, do you know what I mean? So by me doing this, I feel like I'm probably where I would have been if I didn't lose 10 or 15, didn't lose years, but fight like fuck with that noose around my neck of addiction, do you know what I mean? So it feels like I've achieved, and I am where I should be, if that makes sense. And using all the skill sets of the people management from the Merchant Navy, from the site thingies, or from grafting on site, having respect for the people that I talk to and being on the level, which I love. Do you know what I mean? At the moment, I mean, it's some massive projects. I mean, last year I nearly secured just a £10.5 million project for one of my clients that taught me how to QS as such. Do you know what I mean? To securing a smaller project last week, but for me, it's about helping the man in the van or the guys who's making a transition, just like from doing this extensions to securing a contract. And I know how, so the main contractors don't pull the pants down kind of thing, and I can get everything. I'm meticulous with numbers, like a bit autistic, my missus reckons, sit like that at the computer. So I'm good at what I do, but I love that. I mean, I never would have thought being a pre-construction service, your estimate, you can get like personal, job satisfaction. Do you know what I mean? So when I secured that project for Jason last week, it feels fucking good because you see them there buzzing. Do you know what I mean? So for me, that's the proud moments, and that's what it's about. And also being able to live a good life. Do you know what I mean? And how that looks. So yeah, if that answers your question in my usual round the houses answer.
I love it. These are, this it's called Hodcast. Conversations worth having, and no conversation is an A and B. It's always A all the way round to Z, all the way back round to B. You could say, on the back of success, or preceding success, you had some failures. Obviously prison, addiction. Even just some curveballs that life's been thrown at you. Yeah. If you could go back and erase one of them, would you? Or have they shaped you too much?
It'd be the addiction. Would I pick up would I took that pill, do you know what I mean? Because it's been fucking horrendous, you know what I mean? There's no glossy bullshit. It's been fucking, and not just for me, obviously, it's for the people that love me, do you know what I mean? So if I could go back, I'd probably scrub that bit to save the people that love me the pain that I've caused them. Do you know what I mean? But then on the flip side, being on where I am and the person I am now, and the position I am, I want to help all the people that's going through the same shit as me. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's if you're just struggling there or you're just getting your first labouring job on site, and you're thinking that where can this go? Well, it can go to running your own business like myself or all the other successful people, and to the people that have lost the hope that might be listening to this fucking in a bad fucking way, do you know what I mean? And it's giving them a bit of hope and a bit of light, do you know what I mean? Just to never ever fucking stop giving up, do you know what I mean? I was a late bloomer, and I didn't bloom into a very pretty flower, but it wasn't until I was 40 that the kind of the business come about, and I had to jump back on the odd or pull myself out of the depths of fucking hell, man. Sometimes, like relentlessly, I don't even know how I've done it, but to use that story now and try and help others is what it's about. So if I could save the people who love me the pain, then I'd still do exactly what I've done. Do you know what I mean? Just so I can help people now.
And the people that love you, you obviously care for them. What are the sort of conversations that you've had to have with them over the past, and what does that mean to you now?
For me, it's, I don't know, it's the conversations they've had to have with me, really, or the fucking belief that they were still to be there. I mean, there was quite a few years, I think, where everybody lost their hope. Do you know what I mean? I think pretty much everybody has succumbed to that he's an addict, he's going to fucking die, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? So for them, still, people still to be there means the world. It means the world to me to be able to be sitting there and having a conversation. Do you know what I mean? And to say, I suppose, that for me, I never accept it. It's weird. It's a weird one, right? Because the first thing you've got to do with addiction is accept that you've got a problem. Call it a disease, a handicap, a fucking brain damage. So I have to accept that. But I never accepted my fate of addiction, and I'm going to die of that. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's been able to sit here and to say that I knew I wasn't going to fucking die from this shit. Do you know what I mean? And that would be the conversation. Not in a horrible way, but just to give them a fucking hand or give them a fucking massive hug, man. You know what I mean? Brother.
Yeah.
If that makes sense again.
Well, it does. That makes total sense. And I have so much respect, not just for you, but for the people around you that clearly have had an impact, whether that's your friends, your family, you know, your sister, your mum, the people that you really care for. Your fiance as well.
Yeah, massive. Claire's been an absolute. She's Wonder Woman. I call her Wonder Woman, and she fucking is on so many levels. And I mean, when I met her, I was just going from one job to kind of, so I had no money. Do you know what I mean? But she see me, and then she took me. But I ended up living with her, and she didn't give a monkey's about the money or anything. She kind of see somehow what the person I was and what I was about. And she's been through some shit with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, big time, and she's still there, and she's amazing, and she outtrains me, and she outruns me, and I'm like, I have to sit it down. It's for real, man. I do Tai Chi 4 times a week. We do 2 boxing circuits twice a week. I weight train 3 times a week. Obviously, do my recovery, my meetings, and stuff like that. She does a full-time job, and she'd probably do a 10 to 12 mile walk on the weekend, and I have to sit down on a Sunday and just say, right, let's just relax now. So I love it dearly, and she's a warrior, man.
Well, you seem like a busy man, at the very least. Yeah. You started your company when you were 43, is that right?
Yeah.
Some people would say that's too late.
Sure.
What would you say to them?
Not at all. Basically, I mean, if I could have started it years ago, I would have done, but it was, like I said, it was lockdown. I was coming out of a job with Caxton's as a lead estimator. I would say just take the punt. It's never too late. Never too late to do anything. Never too late to change your lifestyle into a fitness thing or pick up a hobby that you always wanted to do and just go for it and grab it by the balls, do you know what I mean? And for me, it was the right time at the right place. And just seize your opportunities, do you know what I mean? Draw on what you're good at, I think.
Well, you've built a client base from absolutely nothing.
Somehow.
What's the secret sauce?
The secret sauce. I use LinkedIn as a platform, as a business model. And I think I've just drew on all my personal qualities on how to, somehow I was quite good on the marketing, but it's just delivering. It was a niche market. First, my company was masonry, do you know what I mean? And I was an estimator, senior estimator, so it was a take-off, so I was meticulous. So I just offered that service. And it just grew from there. I mean, Gary from JSQ was one of my first clients about 5 years ago. And that's when I used to do the take-offs myself. I'd be sitting there for 12 hours, big A1, A3 drawings and getting lost. But I was so meticulous, I'd pour out details that people had missed. So that's why I call it precision estimating, because I was fucking precise about what I'd done. And it just grew from there. For me, from back in the day, being a scallywag, I was always an opportunist, and I still think that I do it in a professional manner now. And I think business is seeing opportunity, so it's going from masonry to we probably got about 140 masonry subcontractors that we've worked from the smallest to the biggest in the UK. And then someone would ask the question, can you do the complete bill from the initial dig to the final coat of paint? And I don't know how to do it, but I've done a Richard Branson and said yes.
You know someone who does.
So that's exactly that. And I built my team, and now I've got a team of 10 professional, competent people that I can rely on that can do all the bits that I can't do. Do you know what I mean? And unfortunately, I had to go through that 6 that were shockingly bad. I never badmouth anybody, kind of thing, because it's just building that team. And once I had that team and the client base, and then it just works from there. Do you know what I mean? And we got into different areas with the business and bonus schemes and all sorts of stuff.
You've got a big presence on LinkedIn, and you never badmouth anyone. I saw a post which is now gone.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be done for
libel or anything.
I was in
two minds whether to take it off or not.
But there was a post about being paid, and there were some WhatsApps going between you and another person. I don't want the details on the person. Cool. What are your thoughts on that situation? Because give us a bit of background on the situation. As I say, if we can keep names out of it, but it obviously affected you because you wrote a LinkedIn post about it. Yeah. And it also affected you maybe a little bit more because you've taken that post down.
I was in 2 minds to take it.
And mate, you're welcome. Yeah. As I say to anybody in their life, do what you feel like you want to do. If it doesn't hurt anyone else, great. Yeah. But that person clearly hurt you.
Yeah, he wounded me, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? On a personal level, it wasn't about the money. That's all, really, to be fair. I had a phone call probably just before Christmas. The fella said he was struggling with money. He had his van stolen. He's been turned over on a couple of jobs. He's got some tenders. Could I price them for him? And as a rule of thumb, I normally get first payment with a new client just so you don't get knocked. And I just thought, look, I know struggle. Do you know what I mean? I know from coming from a place of nothing. So I help him out. So we've done the takeoff. We've got it all together. Not a problem. I wasn't going to send it. I don't know. I just had a gut feeling from the beginning, but I just thought I'd go against it because I want to help somebody out because I know what it's like. And then he's just trying to wriggle out of things, and I was saying that I went vulnerable with him. See, that's I was in 2 minds about doing this with being vulnerable about my addiction, because sometimes coming from a business level, it's a tricky one on how people perceive it. And this is a classic example of it going the completely wrong way. Do you know what I mean? So I just come out from a meeting. An NA meeting, obviously, from a recovery kind of thing. And he was saying that he's struggling to pay. I said, look, I'll just give me half the money. And I said, look, I know about struggle. I said, look, being in prison, then me personally, I think he's an addict. You know, I can tell from the messages he sends me in, it'd be like, so I think he's getting more drunk, he'd be like a big boy and all this kind of stupidness. But I associate with him, so I thought if I open myself up and say, look, I know what addiction's about, so look, don't worry about it, pay me the money whenever. Didn't hear from him for a week, and then just got a message basically saying, my missus has gone through your LinkedIn account, you're not as qualified as what we needed, and just bad-mouthed me. And then saying about drugs and just being an absolute, you know what I mean? Like, and it wounded me more than what I thought. I couldn't get out of my fucking head. I was with Claire, took her out for dinner on a Saturday, and little messages, and I just left it alone. And then Sundays just get more and more aggressive, do you know what I mean? To the point that, I mean, back in the day, if he was in front of me, I'd have probably just lifted him up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? But it kind of really did. I thought, you absolute bastard, do you know what I mean? I've got vulnerable with you, I've opened up, I've helped you out anyway. You're just trying to discredit me from everything I'm doing, and you just spat back in my face and my help, do you know what I mean? So, and even his message, I put that post on there, and I was thinking, shit, for a business thing, people are going to think this, and I got a good response. And then he left a message on there the next day saying, typical druggy bollocks. And I'm thinking, how shallow are you, do you know what I mean? But and then, I took it down in the end, but then I was thinking, should I take it down or not? But just on a personal note, mate, I thought you absolute bastard. You know what I mean?
And it's difficult because if he is going through the ringer, as you think that he is, there must be a bit of you that has some sympathy with where he is.
That's exactly that.
And I can tell that just by the way you're speaking to me now. And that maybe there is still some sort of repair that can be made there, because you know what that's like, and you're not heartless, and actually you're very compassionate, And I when I saw the post, I didn't think that, I didn't think this guy's trying to defame this other person. What I saw was, what I read into it was, you felt, as you said, you felt wounded by it because of the vulnerability, because you'd put yourself out there, because you were open, you were honest, you were trying to do somebody a favour. Actually, it did backfire, and that it does hurt, but equally, it's exactly potentially where that side is,
It's good that you picked that up, because not many people do, to be fair. And it's exactly that. Then I'm sitting there thinking, fuck. Do you know what I mean? If this guy's in a bad way, right? And he's woken up and he's thought, oh, fuck me, I've just been on a 3-day pissed up bender that I can't fucking stop. All this is all over the place. I was thinking, fuck me, don't top yourself. Do you know what I mean? Excuse my language, which I probably should have said all the way through. But and I did genuinely think that. And I think that, it's only 500 quid. Obviously, it's wounded me. Was it the right thing to do what I've done? And in the grand scheme of things, if he was in a bad place and he'd done something bad to himself, I don't want to be part of that, and I don't want him to feel that. But then on the flip side, I know addiction, and I still wouldn't be an horrible kind of bastard about it. But so I just pulled it off. In the end, do you know what I mean?
That was my understanding of why you took it off, because it would have been very easy to keep digging, but that's not what you. About. It might be what you want when you're stuck in addiction, but it's certainly not what you need.
Yeah, and it's exactly that, mate. So that's why I took it off, and I do hope that he's all right. Do you know what I mean? He's blocked me now from things. I've just gone down the the legal road, and I just let bygones be bygones with it, kind of thing.
Yeah. In case you didn't know, in construction, trust is everything. You trust your team to show up. You trust your tools to perform, and when the pressure's on, you trust your supplier to deliver. That's where Grayson Building Products come in. They've been doing this since 1921, and they've built more than just a business. They've built relationships, expertise, and a reputation that is earned, not claimed. With over 50,000 products in stock and a team of specialists who genuinely understand the craft, Grayson is there. Not just when you order, but when things get complex. It's more than just a price. It's partnership. It's peace of mind. If you want a supplier that moves like part of your team, visit grayson.gb.com and see what real service feels like. That does lead on to, how important do you think authenticity is in the networking environment?
I think it's very important, but it's very far and few between, isn't it? I think it's that big. It's the platform, isn't it? Obviously, LinkedIn is excellent, and that's how I form my business. Then you get things like your Facebook and obviously your Instagram, which is just a fake life. It makes everybody feel fucking unworthy and all that shit. But then that still leaks into the business world, because we're men and women, and there's still ego. And that thing, it's nowhere near as bad. But if everybody, I think hopefully with me by doing this, or even that post that I put up about what we was just talking about, other people come forward and say, look, fucking hell, I've gone through this and I've gone through that. And I think it's someone like myself who can look like me and be like me, can say, look, fucking I was in a bad way. It opens the door for other people. So on an authentic level on that, then the more people there can be, the better, I think.
Yeah, because essentially, that was a bad experience that you've had, but you're able to turn it into something, if you're able to turn it, and if he's able to turn around and go, do you know what, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I shouldn't have, and maybe you won't. And that's sort of okay too. But the conversation, the whole idea of conversation is worth having. Yeah. The conversation is the key. Exactly. And your business is, the first word is connected.
Yeah. And that's funny. Well, it's not funny. I'm just going through rebranding and branding at the moment, which I haven't kind of done before. But then that's when I sat back and I started to name my company. I renamed it after 3 years. Because it was just Precision Masonry. But because you've gone in different areas, I connect the main contractor with the subcontractor just on a business level. But for me in recovery, it's all about connection. So it's a big personal thing. So that's why I've called the company Connected Precision Construction. And it is, life's about connection. Business is about connection. It's about my connection with the clients. That we go above and beyond and deal with the smaller guys and help them through connection in keeping sober, living a good life, connecting in open conversations, connection with me and you having this chat, and open conversations, mate. And so for me, yeah, it's a big thing. And I'm just doing a logo at the moment, hopefully, that hopefully should encompass all that, do you know what I mean, on a business and a personal level.
Good. And if someone was starting out LinkedIn today and they didn't have a clue where to start, where would you start? Because obviously you've got the following. You're pretty good at articulating yourself in that world. Well, how would you? What direction would you point them in?
Oh, there's a couple of people that are really good at what they do. I mean, for me, I think I was just fortunate enough somehow to have some idea of. It's just representing yourself and creating an answer for a need or a problem as such. And if whatever your business is, it's demonstrating that you've got a solution to the requirement as such. But there's people that I'm in collaboration with, kind of Lee Fuller from Level Up Media. He's an lovely guy. He used to be a client of mine back in the day, and he's excellent at what he does. So a port of call would be him, or you've got Chris from Engage, and he's got Ion Media that's doing my branding at the moment. He's excellent at doing the same thing, different kind of areas, Lee, but engaging with the clients and stuff. So they'd be my two first port of calls, really, because they're the professional guys that do what they do. So I'll probably point them in their direction.
Okay.
They can pay me later.
Yeah.
No,
they're no way sponsored by this podcast, and they don't sponsor us either. But no, that is interesting, and I'm hoping to get a chat with Lee at some point.
Yeah, it's definitely. You know, I mean, there's no way that I know. I mean, I've drum up the clientele, but from a professional level, I'll go to them guys, 100%.
You're running a successful business.
Yeah.
What cheeses you off about the construction industry? Let me rephrase that. What one thing cheeses you off about the construction industry? Because there's probably a few.
Well, on a personal level, from being a log carrier back in the day, it'd be the rules and regulations. They're ridiculous. Well, not ridiculous, it's needed. But for me, being a scallywag back in the day, I'd be the site agent's worst fucking nightmare. You know what I mean? I'm carrying an odd, what the fuck am I wearing a hat? Just silly things like that. That's back in the day. Construction now, I don't know, it's to make things more, well, it's not more approachable, more accessible. Well, for what Gary does now from GSQ, I think it's exceptional. It's making things more streamlined. Do you know what I mean? It's for me, if I was on the yard, like I said, it'd be two years on the yard, and then maybe a day as an apprentice kind of improver as such. And if you're any good on the yard, then they ain't going to take you on a trail because you're earning them too much money fucking loading the bricks out. But yeah, more to shake the protocol up. Like what we do is bring main contractors to subcontractors is a different supply chain thing. What Gary's doing now is making the site-ready solutions streamlined. It's for the young kiddies not to have to go through years of shit like I did, seize the opportunity with Gary, and then streamline the apprenticeship. So right, these are the skills. So when you're on, which is streamlined and it's short, and then you're on site and you've got the skill set to actually do the job. So for more new ways, more of making it accessible for people instead of the long traditional drawn out bollocks. in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And I really appreciate that. We're going to talk about that in shortly. So if you could fix one thing about the sector, what would it be? I feel like that might be it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Just making it more accessible. There's a skill shortage, obviously. We need to build X amount of houses, and let's bring the talent that we've already got through and help make it a lot easier than what it is.
Where do you see your company in the next 5 years?
I'd like it to keep growing now how it is at the moment. And then in the past 6 months, the amount of reward I've got from helping the new guys out, from maybe that being a massive sector, and me building that and having a section of my team, 3 out of the 10 guys that just deal with the new guys, do you know what I mean? With the expertise and seeing them through the whole process. So which is making it more accessible for people to get into construction, and that, I suppose, answering the first question. And yeah, and just being successful as we are and being reliable. For me, you get pre-construction services, and I think precision in a takeoff and figures should just be standard. For me, it's about the personal touch. Like I say, it's so much more than just a pre-construction service. It's the involvement. It's, fun enough, it's the connection with your client. Do you know what I mean? And growing that as my brand and my service. Do you know what I mean? And that would be magic. You know.
Can we drill into what that looks like? Because that, you know, building your brand and your service, like what does that look like as success to you? Because building a brand, you know, that could be having 1 million clients all paying you X amount each, or that could be, I don't know what does success look like for you?
For me, on a personal level, I suppose success is just always something that enables me to live it sounds corny as you like, doing it your best life kind of thing, but for my business to be able to do that, to enable people that work for me on a freelance basis or maybe a fully employed basis to do the same, to have passion about what they're doing. Like I said, for me on a personal level, is to have the business set up. I'm not one to want millions and millions of pounds of turnover. Just something successful, original, unique, does what it says on the tin to help other people, which is a massive thing. Do you know what I mean? And maybe moving into bringing addiction at the forefront somehow on a connection basis, on a completely different trajectory kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? For me, that's a massive thing, to take the stigma away from the addict. Do you know what I mean? It's mental health, isn't it? It's accepted now. Say 20, 30 years ago, people would think you was a Looney Tune, but now it's accepted. I want people to see addicts as human beings. Most of them been through fucking trauma, through hell. When I sit in a room in the meetings and most people's eyes are on the floor, they've been battered from childhood stuff to all kinds of stuff. And maybe not be, there's no reason, but they've just got a gene that's susceptible to addiction. And just to be in that fucking room, do you know what I mean? I ask them to lift their eyes up, you know what I mean? Because to me, they're all warriors. You're a fucking warrior to even be sat here, do you know what I mean? And a lot of people don't even get off the battlefield, do you know what I mean? So for me, on a personal level, obviously to successful in the business, and maybe to let us see in connecting people and seeing addicts for people, and helping the people that are suffering with the addicts, do you know what I mean? I don't know how that looks. It's just come out.
No,
it's passionate for me. Do you know what I mean? If I can make that work and help other people, then that's the dream.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant, and truly noble. Actually,
if it's doable.
But success, you know, success looks different to everybody, and some people might sit there. I mean, you would have to be a bit of a muppet and sit there and go, yeah, I want to turn over. You know, I want to be earning £15 million a year in 5 years' time. Like, fine.
Some
Great.
people, that's their dream.
If that's what success looks like for you,
good.
double thumbs up for you.
Like,
but beyond the first 2 million, I'm not sure what you're doing with the rest.
Yeah,
but,
exactly that, isn't it?
But to say you want to make an impact in people's lives, you know, because there's obviously been people who have impacted your life. Of
course, and there's still people suffering. I'm going to say a shout out to Ian Rickson at the moment. He's a guy, when I went into recovery in Lindale, he's one of the group facilitators. Just clicked with a fella. He's a lifelong story of addiction. He was on the, we call it out on the street for 10 years, had a business, lost it, went back out there. Long story short, got into recovery from another lovely guy that's picked him up and brought him up to Birmingham. Been sober for 4 years, and he's just got a talent and a knack for helping people, and he fucking helped me, and he's helped hundreds of people. And I don't want to leave it on a glum note as such, but he's dying of cancer, and right now most of the people's been called to his side because he's going to pass, so he might pass by the time we've had this. So just I don't know, what do you call it, dedication or a humble note to people like Ian. Love you dearly. And if I can, because when I was in one of the groups, and he said, let's help people who's going to listen to your story, do you know what I mean? So he's been taken away for whatever reason, I don't understand. So if I can replace the people that he could help a little bit, then, you know what I mean? That means a lot for me, to be fair. On a different note, sorry mate, that went off on a bit of a tangent.
No, not all. We're Yeah, not all.
Yeah.
This is what conversations are about,
Yeah.
mate. And I'm sure you've had lots of conversations with him, and
Yeah.
and that's one of the things that you can't change in life.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly that.
you only get to have conversations for so long.
Yeah.
So I'm
Exactly.
grateful for this, and I'm
same.
grateful that you're grateful for him, because of the without him potentially you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's like you said, and it opens up all the conversations to all the conversations thereafter. Yeah.
Let's move.
Yeah, I know.
Let's move on.
I was thinking that's brought it down a little bit.
No, not at all. That's really impactful, and actually, you just sharing that is so. It's meaningful.
It was because I got the the phone call message from me and his friend yesterday. So I left a voice note. So it's a voice note, Ian, but obviously he's on his deathbed, so it wasn't going to go through. So I spoke to Ian. I said, "Is there any way Tony, his missus, could play it for him?" And then I was thinking, well, I suppose it's selfish on my part, and I didn't think it'd ever get through. But literally before I walked in to see you guys, Ian said he's just played the message to Ian. So I was just like a humbling moment, and I suppose it all links up to what I'm doing now. And that's what I said to him. I said, I'm just about to do a podcast, Ian, and hopefully I can shine a light and give a little bit back to the people. Do you know what I mean? So
you're certainly doing that.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity. Do you know what I mean?
No, you're welcome. Well, this sort of feeds into what we're talking about, and that sort of memory about people starting out.
Yeah.
Because essentially, he's given you a new start, if you will.
Yeah.
So, if a brickie, a site labourer, or an apprentice estimator is listening to this, feeling stuck, what's the first move that they should take?
It's making that first move, isn't it? It's making a phone call of whatever direction they want to go, and to speak to someone that's already done it. If you're not already done it, or that's doing it. I mean, if you want to, like you saying about getting a presence on LinkedIn to speak to Lee or to speak to somebody that can improve your situation. So if you're an estimator, which I am potentially, and it's just I don't know. It sounds cheesy. You've just got to reach out. You have to make the move. Pick up the phone. For me, it's get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? Put yourself, like me coming out, I was thinking, well, obviously you're nervous, but last situations, just face them. And it is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Make another cheesy one, make the first step. No. But it is, isn't it? It's all them little cliche things. It is just go for it, man. What have you got to lose? That is it.
Well, that's the reason those cliches stick in people's heads, right? Because it's true.
It's exactly that, to be spinning them out.
It's like the whole, how do you eat a horse one bite at a time,
That's exactly that. Yeah, well, it is, isn't it? You know?
And if you could sit across from your younger self, the guy loading out 4,000 bricks a day, and say just one sentence, or someone like you, what if you could say one sentence to that person, what would it be?
Everything's going to be okay, man. Just keep doing what you're doing and don't give up. Squeeze a couple extra sentences there for you.
You can have as many as you like.
Thank you, mate.
And you made the jump from hog carrier to business owner.
Yeah.
Not everyone will take that leap,
sure.
and we've already said that's great.
Yeah,
if you want to be a hog carrier forever, perfect.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a job for a hog carrier.
Exactly.
What's the one skill you need to master though before you can make that jump?
I'd say the big one for me, it's not people management, it's learning to the one skill would be, well, I could probably say about 3 or 4.
You have as many as you like.
Got to be resilient, you've got to be driven, got to be prepared to fail. And it sounds, the connection thing with people management, learning how to interact with people on all levels. Do you know what I mean? And how to kind of conduct yourself differently in a different situation. I think that's what I've had to learn with them other skills, and just keep pushing forward, man. I think.
We have a phrase at GSQ and Site Ready, which is 0 talent skills, and those the skills that you've just listed there are essentially zero talent skills.
Yeah.
You don't even need to be able to count or spell or read
Which I can't.
to do that. Well, no, but
I can't.
as an estimator, that's not ideal. But
Well, no, counting. I'm a numbers person. But I can't spell to save my life.
But we have zero talent skills seemingly are fairly important, right?
Yeah.
You can't teach you to be resilient. You can't teach you to be driven.
Yeah.
You can only sort of. It's weird. You can learn it without being taught. If that makes you know, you don't have to
acquire it, can't you?
Exactly, that's it. Acquire it.
I mean?
So you are good with words.
Just can't spell them.
Oh, fair.
Or speaker. But no, that was exactly that, and that's an excellent way of looking at it, isn't it? I think, and it gives people the hope to be able to do anything instead of sitting there. Well, I haven't got my A levels, I haven't got a degree, and all that other way of thing is if you've got the will, then you're halfway there, haven't you? I think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
If you had every person who was an apprentice or was going to become an apprentice sitting right in front of you, what would be the biggest piece of advice you'd give them?
The biggest piece of advice it's resilience, really. I'd say don't be scared to fail, and don't worry about being afraid or nervous, because that's just normal. Do you know what I mean? And then that's it. You've got to the table. You're ready to be an apprentice, and don't stop until you get where you want to go.
And what would be their first step out of that? With that piece of advice that you've just been given, what would be their first step out?
Find out the best route of action, which would be someone like getting in contact with Gary with the Site Solutions, or finding the person or the job opportunity that can get you where you need to go, and then make the call. That's what I would do, to be fair. If you're in that mindset, do you know what I mean? Just, see the possibilities, and then just grab them by the old short and curlies. That's what I've done, this kind of thing.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you. If this is our sort of one last question.
Yeah, no worries.
If you could listen to anyone or watch anyone on this podcast, who would you have? If you can open your little black book and have someone on here that you would want to hear from, who would it be?
There'll be just successful, genuine people. And this is going to sound fucking real double cheesy. It would be someone like Gary. I know that's delight, but from listening to him earlier, really, from the passion that he's got in doing what he does, he's successful in his business, and do you know what I mean? And he's decided to help the young people bridge the skill gap and help young kiddies through. Do you know what I mean? And then listen to his story, which hopefully will, by the sounds of it, he's going to be doing exactly that. And it does sound like that was a line that I've already written down, but to the top of my head, or anybody similar to Gary, do you know what I mean? People with genuine souls, genuine passion, that are driven and that are successful in however that looks for them.